Tuishangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda
daima. Tushangilie
Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda daima.
I know. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Jamhuri Day to you. It is the 61st anniversary of the country. Way back in 1963 until now, 61 years later on. I'm usually Stanley Nyaringita.
Very good morning to you on this Independence Day. A happy birthday to Kenya. A happy birthday to Kenyans who are marking this day alongside our country as well. Welcome to this special edition of the Morning Cafe on this Jamhuri Day, 12th of December 2024. Exactly 61 years ago, Kenya's flag was hoisted and we gained our independence. My name is George Marenga and we have a jam-packed session for you this morning as we hope to brighten your morning. And thank you so much for choosing TV47 to inform you, the home of untold stories.
Most definitely. 22047 is our SMS number. 0793-267-279 is our WhatsApp number. Do this. Take your phone right now and tell us, what do you expect President William Ruto to address in his speech?
What do you expect
first anniversary?
Indeed, what do you expect President William Ruto to address in this 61st anniversary independence of the country?
Yes.
And I, you know, on that, I did see Kenyans, a section of them saying, will he appear in the military regalia?
Yes, I remember Kenyatta in his last
Yes.
Well,
he was keen to dressing in the military regalia as the CNC. We expect to see a lot today. We also have a visiting president who will be the chief guest, the president of the Gambia. We've also expect several activities today. There will be trooping of the color. I can assure you that's part of the reason. Even I, growing up, I used to watch these celebrations just to see those guys marching.
I know, and I think for me, always the jet, and the air show, everything. Tell us, even as you're also answering this question, what do you expect President William Ruto to be talking about? What kind of events do you expect on this particular day? Who do you want to wish a happy Jamhuri Day to you? And as George says, quite a packed show for you. So going to be having a lady and a gentleman just to help you understand what this conversation would be. So first off, Kenya at 61, George.
Yes, Kenya at 61. Of course, we continue to speak about matters, state of the nation. How is the state of the country on this Jamhuri Day? In fact, did you know the origin of Jamhuri? It is, of course, a Kiswahili word. And we will be getting to see whether we have overcome and where we are as a country from the visions of our forefathers. As we also tell you, why we have this interesting award.
Yes.
On State of the Nation, we'll be having the Honorable Kipruto Arap Kiro, former Agriculture Cabinet Minister. He's already here in studio, as well as Joshua Kiptoo, an advocate of the High Court and former Speaker of Nandi County, as well as Daniel Orogo, a political analyst, to be able to unpack where we are as a country, where we want to go as well. Two of those guests are already here in studio to be able to discuss that and much more on State of the Nation. Stanley.
I meant to understand that Daniel Orogo has sent his apologies. So we'll just be having the two gentlemen helping us. And then for this particular year, the theme on matters labor mobility, understanding that labor mobility program by the government. We have two key stakeholders joining us. Moses Adala, CEO, Competitive Manpower, one of the recruitment agencies, helping us understand why do we need to have Kenyans going abroad for jobs. And then Lilian Kemuto, she's an entrepreneur. She's also an educationist for quite a number of years, just trying to understand the whole key link joining between Kenyans who really want to go abroad, yet they don't have the necessary qualifications. All that right here. And then, George, let me take you way back. Now, it's very interesting that on that particular day, it was also on a Thursday.
Property BT.
And today is also on a Thursday.
Thursday.
This, ladies and gentlemen, we take you way back to 1963, the front page of Daily Nation.
The Daily Nation said midnight and up goes the flag. Kenya free.
Yes.
How free are we so far is what we'll also be finding out this morning. And at the time, the paper was going for only 30 cents.
Today is about 60 shillings.
60 shillings.
Yes.
Yes. Today it's about 60 shillings. And a vast crowd at Nairobi's Independence Arena last night roared a welcome to the newest nation of Africa.
Yes.
At the time, Kenya was the newest, and Kenya had just become the 7th country of the British Commonwealth to achieve independence in Africa since the end of the war. We've come quite a long way, and there were 5 babes born at the stadium. 5 babies arrived at the Independence Stadium in Nairobi yesterday just in time for Uhuru, and they were born at a temporary maternity hospital set up by the Red Cross in the KAR, Kenya Air Force Barracks near Independence Stadium. A lot was indeed happening, and of course,
telling you.
The soldiers at the time were wearing shorts.
Yes, they have that photo there.
Yeah.
Even as they were, that Union Jack. So Union Jack is a British flag as it was being taken down, and then the Kenyan flag being hoisted up.
Yeah.
Some few minutes, as he rightfully puts it here, some few minutes, actually a minute past midnight.
As
yes.
the green, red, black and white standard broke, where a moment before the Union Jack had flown. And
Yes.
the lights dimmed suddenly at midnight in the arena. Then 2 officers lowered the Union Jack in total darkness. A moment later, the lights blazed on again, and the Kenyan flag slowly raised in its place.
George, it's interesting. So folk says, according to folklore, that on that particular day, there was a very slight mishap when they were, raising the flag.
Yeah.
So before this flag and the rope could actually let the flag, be, yes, ipeperuke hivyo.
Ipeperuke, yeah.
Ilikuwa imechelewa kidogo, hiyo kamba ilikuwa imekataa kutoka. And then the Prince Philip then akasongea kwa mzee Jomo Kenyatta akamwambia, it's not too late. It's not too late to change things.
To change things.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know what he was, saying at that time. We do have older gentlemen. I mean, these are things that we are, learning from history. We definitely have older gentlemen in studio who will be telling us what they think about all that. So this is Daily Nation in 1963 on a Thursday.
A proper throwback.
Yes.
On this Thursday.
Now to this day.
Now to this day, the Daily Nation saying 5 Karura forests gone in 6 months. As well as Matiang'i named in toxic sugar court case. Some interesting headlines with the face, the picture of former CS, Interior CS, Fred Matiang'i.
It's interesting that for the whole front page, they don't have any mention about, apart from them just wishing people Jamhuri Day, they don't have a special, focus,
social focus
on the forefathers and all that.
And let's see what this standard tells us, Stanley.
How Ruto's new tax laws were quietly passed.
That on Wednesday last week, something happened. We'll also be telling our viewers what exactly happened. On People Daily, inside plot to seize 51 acres from Karura, a place that has always been a memorial, a remembrance, really, of former Nobel laureate Wangari Maathai in that Green Belt movement that also has moved to court. We're just getting you to the headlines. We'll tell you more details later. Stanley, what do you have on the Star? On the Star, 15 counties face probe over 1.3 billion Kenyan shillings bursaries. They also have a photo there. Yes. Matters, an interesting photo, something that you'd want to... it's been long since we ever saw this. The president as well as church leaders. Anyway, kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo, Gachagua siku hii ya Jamhuri awacheka Uhuruto. Tutakuwa tunakuambia kwa nini Gachagua anacheka. Naam. Na vile vile and finally on Business Daily. It's MPs dodge 1 billion cash shillings car tax after sneaking in new law. As Kenyans continue to pay high taxes on the vehicles. Let's take you to the Republic of Tanzania. Lissu kuweka msimamo leo. Tundu Lissu kama wote watagombea ni vyema kwa sababu demokrasia itatamalaki, lakini atakayeshindwa hakikisha anaendelea kufanya kazi za chama na kuwaunganisha waliokuwa wanamuunga mkono. Huni Tundu Lissu anapozungumzia kuhusu masala ya kidemokrasia na vile vilio vya wanyama kuharibu mazao, kuua, vyatikisa kwenye ukurasa wa 5. Na Ali Hassan Mwinyi aonya upigaji fedha mali za umma. Baadhi ya taarifa ambazo zipo kwenye gazeti la Mwananchi. The Citizen?
The Citizen. This is the front page of The Citizen. Still in Tanzania. Tanzania, European Union renew investment pledge. They talk about how Tanzania and the European Union have reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening economic cooperation, focusing on trade and investment as drivers of sustainable development. That is just a nutshell of what is there. Let's come back to the country and tell you how the weather is going to be looking like. I know it's an early weekend for you if you're watching us right now. So many people are wishing if this holiday was on a Friday so that it can be a whole long weekend, but pole.
Yes.
We start off with Marsabit.
Marsabit County. It is
highs of 29.
Lows of 21 degrees. Extending all the way to the weekend, actually up to Monday. It's going to be a warm days in Marsabit County. Let's go to the coastal city of Mombasa.
County 001. Leo kuna nyesha kule proper.
And rain likely around at 1 p.m. And the precipitation levels will be really high, 11.4 millimeters. If you're taking a flight down to the coast or a trip, you might want to know that from 9 a.m. all the way to 4 p.m. You'll be expecting showers in that city of Mombasa.
Right.
And then to the weather update,
in Nairobi.
News in Nairobi.
Yes, in Nairobi, it might be a little chilly in the morning, some light showers as of around 8, 9 a.m. there. But don't worry, it's going to be a very clear day, some clear blue skies for you so that you can enjoy your Jamhuri Day as fantastic as possible. That is how things are looking like in Nairobi. Finally, in Kisumu, tuangalie how Kisumu City, United
Kisumu,
yes.
UK, the great U of K. There will be some, it's partly cloudy with no rains. All the way extending all to Saturday. You know, you keep checking Saturday for them. Why?
Oh yes, most definitely. Because, hey, naona hata venye itakuwa. Just, hakuna hata mvua.
Hakuna hata mvua, just cloudy.
Mzuka Fest happening on that particular day at Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, Mambo Leo. What do you expect? Kofi Olomide there, Prince Indah. Get your tickets right now.
Right now.
Yes.
And of course, it's going to be a warm, cloudy day in the lakeside city of Kisumu.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. We'll be back to take a look at the traffic for you. And the one particular area that tutakuwa tunaangalia sana sana ni ile ya kuelekea kule Uhuru Gardens.
Uhuru Gardens.
Tuangalie just for you so that in case you're planning to be going to here it is. Right now, as you can see, it's totally green. There isn't much traffic, but then we'll be getting to hear from our boots on ground there how that place will be looking like.
Talking of which, our crew is already on site, and we'll be linking up with them, our very stellar crew. There in a few, we shall be linking up with them to be able to just get a feel of how it is in the Uhuru Gardens, where the celebrations will be happening.
Most definitely.
Let's take you back to the main headlines.
And just see the kind of headlines that are on the front page. This actually 3 front pages here, so that we get into the conversations this morning, just really trying to understand what is there. You're holding the Daily Nation?
I'm holding the Daily Nation because it says 5 Karura forests gone in 6 months on this Jamhuri Day. Logging scandal. A report tabled before MPs reveals how traders exporting processed timber to China and India cut down 6 million eucalyptus trees in farms across the country between January and June this year, putting into jeopardy President William Ruto's ambition to plant 15 billion trees in 10 years. That story is on pages 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation, and 6 million is the number of eucalyptus trees that have been, that is estimated to have been harvested in farms across Kenya in 6 months.
Yes.
And this story has been, of course, has raised so many queries and so many questions regarding how that could happen, and in as much as Kenya is trying to conserve and preserve its forest cover.
Yes, even as the push to plant 15 billion trees, all the way until 2030, that whole push is very, very interesting, how that will be playing out. Something else also that Daily Nation takes you way back is on page 10, way back. Do you remember the mercury in sugar and all that?
Yes.
Apparently, that just might have been what the political class wanted you to know for people's gains. They say Matiang'i accused of meddling in 2018 toxic sugar scandal, and the court told sugar imported from Egypt was safe for consumption, but was branded toxic due to political interests.
Interest and expediency.
There's also a very interesting story on page, this is page 3.
Page 3. Explained how to spot counterfeits as you shop for December festivities. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, and KEBS, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, say online platforms are a hotspot for scams during the festive season. For instance, check the price, check the place, check the packaging and labeling, your perception, insist on secure transactions, be careful when buying medicine online, be vigilant when buying from abroad, wait, that is check the weight, research the reputation of the seller and read the customer comments, watch for missing charges, and then buy from genuine distributors and e-distribution lines. Ndio msiseme, hamkuambiwa. Everyone right now is just having plausible deniability. Being able to say, we put out the alarm there.
Most definitely.
I hope you don't fall victim of scams, because there are so many fakes that will be happening, especially they are not, I don't know whether we are still in the watershed. There is that very interesting way as Kenyans, they like to consume a very interesting type of beverage, type of drink. So be sure to download some apps to verify it's genuine. Do not take counterfeit. There are some people who have been victims of poisoning after taking some very, very interesting products that contain, is it ethanol?
Well, yes. On the Standard. The Standard has quite a number of stories actually this morning, as much as it's quite a light paper, but it has some very key stories there. The big one, how Ruto's new tax laws were quietly passed. And they say on Wednesday last week, in a sitting that extended to almost 9 p.m., close to 65 members of parliament unanimously passed new tax laws. Signed into law yesterday, they will enable government to generate more revenue while offering relief to employees, retirees, and businesses. That is on page 10 of that.
Yes.
They also have matters sports, which is quite interesting. On the front page, they see how Kenya shot itself in the foot. And George also, even in the whole sports arena on the back page, they have, do you know Engin Firat?
Engin Firat, the coach.
Yes, so now he's outgoing,
He's outgoing.
Yes, so embattled Harambee Stars coach Engin Firat finally packs his bags.
Okay.
There was quite the, hue and cry for him to leave from Kenyans after a whole series of failed and matches for Harambee Stars. So finally, he has left. There's also the book's realization of Against the Tide.
Against the Tide.
Tell us about that.
Sis Martha Karua. So today, it's focusing on the Kibaki years, how NAC dream imploded. In 2002, the Rainbow Coalition was handed a blank check to birth a new republic. But alas, no sooner had they settled in office than initial grumblings swelled into a political fallout. In her book, Against the Tide, Martha Karua regrets the fallout. You can get the highlights on the Standard, as well as grab a copy of the book Against the Tide in various outlets from across the country. You can also pre-order online, and you'll be able to get more details about that book. And we've also told them about Nancy Macharia, who is exiting.
Oh, yes.
The TSC, Complex Legacy of TSC Iron Lady, Nancy Macharia, who exits after 10 years in office as CEO after nearly a decade, and she leaves behind a mixed legacy. So you'll be getting to know what that is all about. Let's go to this. This must be
this is a star.
This is a star.
Yes, and among the very interesting headlines here. There's a story on page 8 which talks about something that is going to be happening tomorrow. They say Raila to face the Africa Union Commission opponents in live TV debate. So Kenya's candidate, Raila Odinga, will tomorrow face his main opponents in a live debate to be televised across the continent. The Africa Leadership Debate, or Mjadala Africa Leadership Debate, will run from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. East Africa time. So there are more details on that there.
And of course, I will be getting to see more details and to read more details about that. But indeed, let's now head over to Uhuru Gardens, I would want to believe, where Moiga William and Sheila Chelangat are on standby. They will be leading our stellar crew, joining us from location, live on location for these celebrations, the 61st Jamhuri Day celebrations. Good morning, Sheila and Moiga. How are you guys doing? The dynamic duo. We trust you well. How is the situation like? Have Kenyans started streaming into the arena?
Good morning. Over to George and Stanley back in studio already. We are at Uhuru Gardens.
Right.
Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning.
Oh yeah, the dynamic duo, so they say.
Quite a cold morning and chilly morning here in Nairobi. And it is what? Happy Jamhuri Day.
Happy Jamhuri Day, the 61st Jamhuri Day. That means over 6 decades of self-independence, self-ruling. And today Kenyans, together with Africa at large and the globe, we are uniting to celebrate 61 years of Jamhuri here in Kenya.
Yes, definitely. And you know, Jamhuri is the Swahili word to mean republic. The day that we actually got sovereignty as a country away from the British rule that had stemmed for about how long? Since 1920?
That is early 1930s. And of importance is to see the number of people who are going to turn up for this event. But as of now, quite people are still streaming in here at Uhuru Gardens. But the seats being empty, we are still hoping that in the next 1 hour or so, all the seats will be occupied. But also, we are also expecting the military, that is the Kenya Defense Forces, as usual, as a traditional, to show their well-gallant, the flags, the marching around this particular arena. As the people watch, as the people even cheer them, and also some sort of entertainment as we wait President William Ruto to lead these celebrations. And this comes just a few days after giving a State of the Nation address. And of importance, we will be looking and hearing the speech that President William Ruto will be giving. Remember, this particular celebration comes at a time where there is a growing rift between President William Ruto and the church. And uniquely, yesterday you saw some events at State House.
Yes, we actually saw that, Ruto got to meet evangelical leaders. It is a appointed time where he is now beginning. He actually said during that meeting at State House that the church as well as the state do serve the same people. So it is right for them to ensure that they are actually united in this cause, to ensure that Kenyans are united at this particular point. And Moige, we are talking about Jamhuri Day that is coming right after the Gen Z protest that we occurred in June and July. And part of the protest, the reasons why the youth went on to protest was that there was no jobs in the country. They felt hopeless and there was despair for them, feeling as though they have been left behind by the political class. Hence, we could not say that the theme of this particular day came at, it looks more right, because it is, job creation, labor migration, as well as entrepreneurship and entertainment. And this is where it's coming at a time where 70% of the country is below 35, they're youth, and most of them, the high unemployment rate continues to irk them very much. And so this theme could not have been more relevant for this particular day.
Indeed, and we have seen a whole week different government agencies and departments had set camp at KICC. You also remember the particular, that is Kazi Majru, Kazi Ugaibuni, that is being drummed up by President William Ruto, specifically the Ministry of Labour in conjunction with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sending the young people outside of the country. But they are not saying this is labor migration.
Yes.
No, they are saying this is tapping the opportunities that are outside there and to ensure that the young population do get this job. But also, Sheila, it will be interesting to hear from President William Ruto today as he leads this particular celebration. 61 years of Kenya being a republic. But some of the issues that the first president, that is the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, was propagating for and also was calling for was to eradicate poverty, also matters health and matters education.
Yes.
And also today, we still have those problems.
Yes.
Remember the clamor for good governance. Remember the Shah sheet issue. Remember the university funding model. These are still some of the challenges that are still present 6 decades later. And
Yes.
today it will be interesting to hear from the president what he will be saying about these issues which are bedeviling his government and the nation at large.
Of course, it is a dream that, they hope to have realized from the moment that we gained independence in 1964. It is a dream that they hope to realize, that they would see, poverty being eradicated in these parts of the country, that healthcare would be, sufficient for all, that we would have education for everybody. And we are looking at this particular time where the president has come in with a raft of measures for the education system, the new funding model for the higher education, as well as the CBC program now for the young ones. And then we're looking at a system, SHA, the shift from NHIF this particular year. Therefore, as they strive to address these particular issues, the illnesses, the illiteracy, it is the point where now we should make the reflection of 61 years on, how much have we done, how much is still needed to be done at this particular point, and what needs to be done. Are we on the right trajectory?
Sure. And it will be interesting also to hear from citizens. And I know later on we'll be engaging citizens as they are being let inside this particular place. We get to hear their views and what is to take stock of 61 years later. Remember, 2024 has been quite an interesting year. The Gen Z protesters you mentioned earlier, the church calling out the government. But still, there are still so many issues that Kenyans, even through the online platforms, remember the X, the TikTok, Kenyans have been really airing serious issues. And also today, Matters Politics, I know our very own senior political reporter, Paulo Kamo, will be joining us in a few. It will also be interesting to look at the political landscape on this particular day. Just this week, President William Ruto met former President Uhuru Kenyatta, despite a quite not a good relationship you can talk of. If you take bank of the words they did exchange and their relationship towards the run-up of the 2022 elections, it was quite interesting. We also have the Murima factor again.
Yes.
We expect the president to also speak on this particular issue.
And it's when you rightly put it, that it comes at a time when he's met the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and also at the backdrop of having Raila Amolo Odinga running for the AUC seat. And these meetings have been coined to say that it is for discussing matters national importance, bringing everybody together. And so it would be very interesting to see what it is that they have in store for us on that front. And this comes a day before his right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga does go undergo Jadala Africa in Ethiopia, just as he vies for the AUC chairmanship. And so we would be definitely keeping an eye on what would be mentioned on the same. And just as we about to wind up, the final preparations are hitting top gear. We can see behind us that the presidential dais has just been set, Moige. We are looking at people continuing to stream in, locals as well as Kenyans continue to stream in, particularly the children who would be performing, which is the top notch of the ceremony today. Is normally the celebrations, and so the children who would be celebrating are already here.
Mm-hmm. And also today, just to inform our viewer, is during these celebrations the guest of honor, or rather one of the dignitaries who has been invited in this celebration, is the president of Gambia, that is Adam Boro. He will be joining in the country as we mark this particular day. So we also expect to hear what the Africa continent has to say, and if Gambia will be supporting Raila Odinga in his candidacy for the African Union Commission, right?
Right. I hope we're not being too ambitious, but again, it is what is just to expect here at the Uhuru Gardens as we celebrate the 61st Jamhuri Day celebrations. But for now, can we just throw it back to studio?
Oh yeah, back to studio.
Indeed, thank you so much, Moige and Sheila Chilangat, joining us from Uhuru Gardens, where there will be the 61st celebrations of Jamhuri Day here in Kenya. And to just also inform you, the Kenya Defence Forces will be trooping the color, and trooping the color is basically a ceremony performed by the Kenya Defence Forces on Jamhuri Day that symbolizes the full establishment of a battalion. And that will be an event that Kenyans will also be following closely, even as Kenya welcomes the President of the Gambia, that is Adama Barrow, who is the chief guest. He was received yesterday evening by the Prime CS, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, as well as CS for Mining, Ali Hassan Joho, at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and will be making their way to Uhuru Gardens to accompany the President for those celebrations as the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces and the President of the Republic. Remember, Jamhuri means Republic, and therefore this is an important day for Kenya, the 61st day for the 61st anniversary for Kenya. We are back right here in studio with me, George Maringa, and my colleague Stanley Nyaringeta for an in-depth continued coverage. We shall, of course, be continuing and linking back with our colleagues at Uhuru Gardens to be able to see and hear what else is happening right there, Stanley.
Oh, yes. Mwig and Sheila, quite lucky for this year. I mean, it's sunny. I remember you were there last year.
Last year, yes.
And it was quite chilly and rainy.
Very, very chilly. They are lucky this time. Last year we had to get some umbrellas to be able to shade ourselves. But of course, it's a good time. And talking about I just remembered, we hope that the weather is good enough to be able to witness those, dramatic and interesting showcase by the Kenya Air Force.
Yes, we always have that one helicopter that says Happy Jamhuri at 61 for this year, and then another one passes God Bless Kenya. So this are just some of those shows. Anyway, back to the newspaper review, just taking a look at the caricatures and the cartoons. We could start off with one of them. Director Nzatusaidia, one of them as we also continue. Yes, tuangalie hii ya kwanza. Yes.
The judiciary is saying, no, not clean enough. Who is this that is seeming to clean
This is Mike Sonko. Yes, former Nairobi governor.
Yes.
I think there's one of those stories on one of the dailies on his acquittal. I think it was a Standard on how he has been acquitted finally. Let me just get to, yes, here it is on the second page of Daily Nation.
Daily Nation.
Page 2 there. Court overturns Sonko acquittal in graft case. Saying Sonko has been dealt a blow after the High Court overturned his acquittal in the 25 million graft case almost 2 years ago. Yes. There's Justice Nixon Sifuna who did that. So they're trying to have the weighing balance of the graft charges versus ujisafishe kidogo. Anyway.
Ujisafishe kidogo. Who is this? That's Kenya at 61. Chained, actually. Captive by debts is what the caricatures of this particular cartoon is talking about. And this seems to be a very heavy load that is tying everywhere, not only the foot, the leg, but also around the entire body. Significant with perhaps the situation we find ourselves as a country, even as Kenya intends to borrow some more money from the United Arab Emirates. You did see that from the Business Daily yesterday.
Yes, and even before you cross over, you remember 61 years ago, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta talking about this, ending poverty, diseases, illiteracy. Does this showcase 61 years later? Do we still have a reason to smile? Our esteemed guest will be telling us, what does this really mean? Then finally, on Leo Coats wako kwa
Work on the spotlight.
on the cartoons, yes.
Yes, e-Citizen, because of were they marked as one of those that are not compliant?
No. So what happened was the courts. So President William Ruto had told a number of government agencies to make sure that they enroll in the e-Citizen, and had put them on the spot and had given them a deadline. But then the courts came and said, tulia, wachana na watu. Let them, relax. Among them was Kenya Pipeline, among others. So yes, this is what is all about.
All about. And of course, 37 minutes past the hour. Thank you so much for staying with us. We will be having the conversation on State of the Nation shortly. Joshua Kipto is already here in studio, as well as Kipruto Arab Kira, our guests, to be able to debunk and see where we've come from, where we are, and where we are headed. Is there actually a reason to celebrate, as Stanley asks?
Yes.
Please do stay with us, and then after that, what shall we be having?
Yes, later on we get into matters, still the whole conversation. For this particular year, the country focusing on labor mobility program. Now, George will realize for this being the third consecutive year where President William Ruto is going to be leading the country in marking the Jamhuri Day, there has been quite the focus on matters youth, focusing on youth creative economy. That was last year. Also, even for his first term in 2022, there was also much focus on the youth. But then, do we really need to be taking Kenyans outside the country? That is the conversation we're going to be having there. Moses Adala, CEO, Competitive Manpower, and Lillian Kemunto, entrepreneur. Remember, we're asking you, what do you expect President William Ruto to be saying in his address, in his speech for this particular day? Talk to us. 22047 is our SMS number. 0793-267-279 is our WhatsApp number. Right now though, weka remote hapo kando kidogo, tunarudi in a few.
Absolutely.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup
of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi.
It is 15 minutes to 8 a.m. We thank you so much for staying with TV47 on this Jamhuri Day. A happy Jamhuri Day to you and your families from wherever you're watching us. My name is George Marenga. We continue with this live broadcast as we will be linking up with our crew at Uhuru Gardens for the celebrations, as to be able to see what is happening right there. But in the meantime, we've got our guests here in studio. We've got two panels. On this side of the studio, I've got my guests, that is in my immediate left, Kipruto Arap Kira, former agriculture minister, as well as Joshua Kipto on the far left, an advocate of the High Court. Good morning, gentlemen, and happy Jamhuri Day to you.
Good morning.
And I'll begin perhaps with you, Bwana, former speaker. What do you have to celebrate, and from a personal perspective, as a Kenyan, as a leader, an advocate, is there anything to celebrate and worth celebrating, especially even as you look at the headlines that have been splashed from the dailies this morning?
So thank you very much, and I wish to wish our viewers happy Jamhuri Day. So Jamhuri Day is more of a collective celebration rather than individual, because this is a time, or it's a period, a day we commemorate when Kenya became a republic, more or less, like, because we had 12th December 1963. It was the first time we were getting independent, but 1964 is when we became formally a republic.
Yes.
And it's a day to commemorate and appreciate the 61 years that has been. What to celebrate mostly is the strides we've made in governance and the journey or the mile that is still ahead on the same issue on governance. But we first have to appreciate the foundation that has been set by our forerunners since that day when we got independence. And in this case, we celebrate being a peaceful republic. That is not something you take for granted, for being peaceful for the period of time that we've been as a country, despite upheavals that have happened in between. Number two, political developments. We've had significant political development as a republic. Remember that between 63 and 64, we got independence in 63, 12th December, but within the Commonwealth realm. 1 year later, we became a republic, though that came with the dismantling of the regional governments, which took another 40 years to recreate. So you can see there are lessons and mistakes made along the way. That in 1963-64, when we dismantled our regional or majimbo governments, and then it took us another 40 years to fight and recreate the devolved county governments that we have now. And as you've seen, the tremendous progress it has done to our republic in terms of taking governance down to the grassroots and to the people. On top of that, remember, we started as a one-party, or more or less like a multi-party system, then kind of backslid into a one-party state, and then ultimately in 91 coming forward, re-established our multipartism. And through the journey of multipartism, it has been a tremendous growth in our political development, because multipartism didn't mean that the country was at an optimum in enjoying a multi-party system. The struggles of the 90s, which in this case you find are more or less like towards reform, legal reforms that are constitutional in nature, because after we recovered our multi-party state, there was also the issue of how then do we become a functioning multi-party democracy. And I'm happy Waziri is here. Kipruto Kirwa, I remember when I grew up, in class 4, 98, they had a muungano wa mageuzi, but before then I think he formed a party called UDM, which was to challenge the KANU regime then, which was the power or the ruling party. And subsequently, you can see in 2003, he was part of the group that ushered in the NAC dream. The first and the last time we'll have a president being elected with 67%, whereby you see it was more or less like a rebirth of a republic. Though I'm sad to say that it was a lost opportunity also, because in 67, by getting 67%, Kibaki had the nation at his feet, where he was to recreate the Kenyan dream of national unity. That was a bit elusive, and our Jamhuri Day celebration today is about that national dream. Wins for the NAC dream of 202 was basically economic development that we keep referencing to. But we lost it on the nationhood, because the ethnic chauvinism reared its ugly head. And in fact, I was just reading the serialized book of Martha Karua, where he said it was a lost opportunity because they got into fights, and that has been our story since 2002, where political bickering and fights has robbed us ability to move ahead as a republic. But we take the lessons. Ultimately, you can see that the last 15 or 20 years, our political development has matured to the level that we have a robust political party competition, that our elections has become very closely contested, but more importantly, since 2022, which I reasonably predicted from 2017, that 2022 going forwards, our elections will be pegged on issues. And one of the biggest challenges the president is facing, as you've said, look at the headlines, the biggest challenge, which I think he's credited in saying that never again after 2022 would we contest our elections based on personalities or based on individual ethnic chauvinism. Otherwise, it will be an issue of issue-based agenda or issue-based election, where the agenda for any elections will be issues. Now we are in that age. So since 2022, the reason the government is now being put on the back pedal and on a high moral ground to deliver is because now the republic is where issues of governance are at the center of our consideration. So as we celebrate today, it is basically taking stock, but also knowing that the tremendous challenge that lay ahead for us as a republic. There's a lot to cover, and I'm happy the next generation that some of us born in the 80s who never saw the Uhuru, we were born post the Uhuru, and even those born post the 2000, the so-called Gen Z group, you can see they have taken up the mantle on fighting for proper governance. So I'm really optimistic. I'm very happy that as we celebrate Jamhuri today, we are at the cusp of another governance changeover or transition, because the demand for proper governance, the demands for a functioning social democracy or political democracy for our republic is what is our conversation as we speak. Thank you.
Bwana Kipruto, you were just about, I think, 4 years old when you were, rather, when we witnessed this, or rather, you can even remind us where you were in 1963. I mean, do you have any recollections about that Independence Day? And such a day, especially for you, would be akin with a lot of razzmatazz as a minister. When you look at the achievements and where we've come as a country, where do you place these celebrations? Is there anything that you can be proud of as a Kenyan, as a former CS as well?
Well, George, let me also wish all Kenyans happy Jamhuri, wherever they are watching. I just want to say the following. In 1963, I think I was 5 years, or 6 years about, because I was born in 1957. Unfortunately or fortunately, I was out of the country.
Oh, okay.
Because in the early 60s and the late 50s, many of us were displaced by the Muzungu. So some went to Uganda, some went to Masaini, some went to West Pokot, and we were in Tanzania, a place called Msoma, to be specific, Butiama. So, but when we were there, we were also celebrating because we got the wind that Kenya now was independent. And of course, fast forward, we came back 72. And that's the first time I saw the President of the Republic, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, when he was coming to Kitale Show. There were a lot of things about it because some people are hesitant to believe that indeed it was Jamhuri, that we are going to be independent, and fully so. But of course, a large number of Kenyans believed this was to come. The lessons learned, as my good friend, the lawyer, has said, there are a number of challenges that we have faced. The issues that we were fighting at that time were three: poverty, ignorance, and disease. But we never lifted ourselves to the level of talking of things that can reveal the true independence of the country. Issues like umoja, issues like integrity, and issues like fighting against tribalism. That was done very well by Mwalimu Nyerere, because 6 weeks after they won their independence in Tanzania, Mwalimu Nyerere resigned and traversed the country, allowed Rashid Kawawa to be in the interim position for 1 year, for him to preach the issues of nationalism, issues of against tribalism, issues against udini, issues against ufisadi. Those are the issues that he was able to enlist on the problems that were bedeviling that society.
Yes.
Here in Kenya, we spend more time talking about creating of wealth without measure, a situation that is still bedeviling us up to today. When you look at it, yes, there are so many gains that we've had, apart from independence, but we are yet to fight the issue of tribalism. We still have that problem. If you are to watch various fora, whether it is the Kalenjin fora, the Kikuyu fora, or any other fora, you realize that the underbelly that we still have to fight is the issue of tribalism. We are still tribal as a nation, a situation that we need to improve on. Well, of course, the issue of corruption is still rampant. That's why everybody talks of losing 2 billion a day, a situation that really we should be able to correct. But all said and done, we are better off as an independent nation, but we can still improve on the gains that we've had. we can do better than we did before. And that means that we need to focus on the government of the day to deliver on the promises they made. We are not asking them to do what is not humanly possible. We are telling them, you promised us 1, 2, 3. Can we see delivery of those things that you promised us? Can we see better and prudent management of resources of the country? Can we see you being accountable on daily basis? Can we see you engaging on issues that make us feel that we are better off than we were under colonial regime? Yep.
I can see Evans David saying happy Jamhuri Day. Happy Jamhuri Day to you too on our YouTube live chat. Good conversation here is what Judy Chabet is saying. Joshua Kiptor is on point. Thank you, Judy. Coming back to you, Joshua. He talks about the issue of tribalism and leadership and the promises. At the center of it all, year in, year out, is a population that expects to see the fulfillment of several promises across generations. There are those who are still there when they had the initial promises, and a lot of politics is all about selling sometimes euphoria and utopia, however you look at it. How are we progressing? Is it necessary to really keep reinventing the wheel, or do we just modify it altogether?
Thank you very much. One, I would want to correct. Politics is about selling hope, because politics is about collective governance. How do we come together as a society, and you have the citizens donating or voluntarily donating their power to the sovereign, in this case now the so-called government, and the government representing the state. And we should always see from a broader perspective, the state having the 3 arms, judiciary, executive, legislature, with the expectation that the arms would then act to the wishes, according to the wishes and aspiration of the people. So when you say, how do we do about it? I see governance as a progressive process or a progressive agenda. No country in the world can be said to have had a magic solution to its governance problem. Each country has its has a fair share of challenges, and Kenya is not unique. What I would think would work for us is taking stock, and importantly, learning lessons and then putting in work, because history helps us understand where we are from. Let me use, for example, you talk about tribalism. Tribalism more or less becomes a political mobilization tool. How do we get votes? Because when it comes to political competition, you use whatever works to be able to mobilize people towards a common agenda. And tribal affiliation has been the low-hanging fruit for a long time for our republic. And there's always that cultural aspect that it's nothing wrong being conscious about your heritage, being proud about your heritage, about a mother tongue or a language, or belonging to a people or a cultural group. But again, politically it becomes the basis for mobilization. Then, if that becomes the case, what impact does it have on us? You've seen that that has become the basis for our misrule. It has become the basis of the so-called, for example, things like tyranny of numbers and what have you. How then do we get out of that rut? And that's why I said in 2003, it was our best chance when Kibaki got elected overwhelmingly across the republic. Rarely do we get a chance where a candidate galvanizes a nation around a common agenda. Our elections subsequently has been a case of the same ethnic mobilization, but something beautiful is that a coalition of some sort, or this ethnic mobilization has been then forced into aspects of coalition building. So that yes, if you look at Kenya Kwanza regime in 2022, the coalition bloc was mostly from Rift Valley, Kalenjin, and the Mount Kenya. Those were the bedrock support for the Kenya Kwanza regime. You find the Azimio one had a bloc from, for example, mostly Western. You have Nyanza, you have Ukambani, you have Coast, Asal areas, and for example, Masaini. So you find that we've then moved away from just raw ethnic mobilization. We have evolved into more or less coalition building, but still within the ethnic affiliation in a way. But then there's a silver lining. Post-2022, issues, especially the economic challenges that face the country has forced people into one corner or into one basket, whereby the commonality of our challenges, the kind of hassle we go through and the pain, that the economic pain Kenyans feel after, of course, the 10-year of a failure of the Jubilee regime, then you have a case of Kenyans slowly but consciously moving away from the ethnic conclaves towards common agenda, to the extent that for us to have successful youth protests, the Gen Z protest that was galvanizing, were you not concerned that the Gen Z protest was bigger in Eldoret? It was the second biggest after Nairobi, despite it being the bastion of the president. Yeah. Did you not get concerned that, for example, the overwhelming support and singularity of issues that people are raising, and that's why I say we are in a governance moment, where there's a singularity of issues and opinion, to the point that what galvanizes the people, the republic at the moment, is the common economic problems, the demand for better governance, and you see now the president being forced out to come out away from the traditional presidency where the president would address people from the high ivory tower, for example, from the house in the hill, from 1 or 2 media sessions. Now he's forced to engage people in town halls. He's forced to engage people on specific issues, whereby every single day, look at the last 3-6 months, the news circles has been one agenda after the other. If you open the dailies, nowadays we are no longer talking about Raila was here, Ruto was here. Look at our today's dailies. Talk about Ruto's new tax laws. Now taxation has become personal. It is something people follow. If you open Daily Nation, then the headline is about 5 Karura forests gone in 6 months. Environmental concern. So we are slowly moving towards mobilization on issues and agenda. That I'm looking forward to the 2027 election. It will be won or lost on performance. It will be won and lost on issues. So when you say, do we overhaul everything? The overhaul is happening organically. And as we speak right now, it is the political elite to wake up and smell the coffee. That the country is moving, and an ethnic mobilization will still be a factor, no problem about it, but will not be a major factor. In a 10-year period, then we'll be galvanizing around issues.
All right. Mheshimiwa Kipruto, before we move to Stanley's set, as part of the cabinet, because he talks about governance and those in leadership to smell the coffee, how much, because in 2002 is only, as he says, 67%, the only time he got such an overwhelming vote, the only time Kenya was ranked very hopeful. What necessitated, how much did you smell this coffee to be able to come up with all these policies that are celebrated and perhaps even criticized in equal measure at the time?
Well, there are a number of factors that culminated in the division between the ODM group and those of us who are in the banana aspect. It started with the formation of the cabinet. Some of the members that were recommended by Prime Minister Raila, who became Prime Minister later on, were not put in the list, courtesy of the President and other people who felt that some of the individuals so proposed were not fitting the bill at that particular time. Now, I just wanted to correct my young brother here that the danger with this tribal galvanization is that some of the people who get elected will just be a coalition of tribes who, when they get the numbers, they win, but the agenda may be hollow. Look at the promises that were promised by the current president. A number of them have been proven to be hollow and not meeting the threshold. And of course, he continues to make the same promises without really facing it on serious policy consideration. The second issue is that this issue of tribal coalition destroys institutions. What we should be seeing more is how do we make institutions stronger than individuals. Of course, you've seen that, of course, he's been able to enlist Prime Minister Raila Odinga to his side. And he visited Ishaweri the other day for purposes of possibly meeting minds with the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta. While I do appreciate it is going to reduce the tension in the country, but we are almost emphasizing on the need for individuals to galvanize the national culture and thinking, instead of ensuring that institutions do operate. We expected more of Parliament being robust, and the independence of judiciary being seen in terms of the decisions they make, and also the executive performing according to the promises they made in their own manifesto and in their own pronouncement as a presidential candidate or as candidates all over the republic. So the danger with this tribal galvanization is an issue that, yes, you support just because he comes from your community. You say, yes, he's one of our own. Even when there is stealing, you say, no, others have also stolen in the past, which really criminalizes the thinking of majority of our people in a way that we are not looking at issues of governance. Governance actually means you must use the resources that you have in a prudent manner, and you are also able to be transparent in terms of the decisions that you make. Many of the decisions that we criticize today is not because they are wrong, but because they are shrouded in lack of transparency. Look at the Adanis, or whether it is in the health sector, whether it is in Ketrago, whether it is in the transport sector, and many other decisions that have been taken by this regime are decisions that, to say the least, are shrouded in a lot of mystery, a lot of lack of transparency, and lack of effective communication for the public to know what is happening within the government.
All right. Yep. Indeed. And let's cross over to Stanley's set. But before then, just allow me, because of course it's a national holiday, to just appreciate your feedback here. Leslie Kenneth saying, Happy Jamhuri Day, Kenya. Happy Jamhuri Day to you too. Leslie Kenneth saying again, say hi to Boyot Kipruto Arab Kirwa. You received the warm regards. Dixon Magut, good conversation. The country's future is vested in our collective responsibility by learning from the past and improving every day with positivity. Joshua Kipto on point. Fanuel Omolo saying hi, please, what feedback do you have for us, and perhaps what expectations do you have from President William Ruto's address today is the question you're asking. What expectations do you have, or what do you expect President William Ruto to address this morning today at the Jamhuri Day celebrations? Please keep your feedback coming, but you're due for a short break. Do not go anywhere. We are back in a few minutes. Please do stay with us, and happy Jamhuri Day to you and your family.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I mean, to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange na ambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, happy Jamhuri Day to you. It is the 61st anniversary of the country. My name is Tanzanian Ringita, and for this particular year, the theme, jobs, labor migration, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. And they focus on kazi kwa ground, kazi mtandaoni, and kazi majuu. So that is what we're going to be hearing President William Ruto really talk about. And even as we are keen on what you do expect President William Ruto to talk about as well. And allow me to first of all engage, actually introduce our guests this morning. So first off, Moses Adala. He is the CEO of Competitive Manpower. And he'll be telling us all about that. Good morning, Adala.
Good morning.
And happy Jamhuri Day to you. How was it, growing up? Are we still? Have we lost the whole taste of Jamhuri? How was it back in your day?